Yo bro, this is Louis aka the Tinder God, and today I'm gonna teach you how to text a girl. Because maybe you've ever been looking at your screen and you're like, God damn, am I this boring? Like, you know you're more fun than this, but for some reason your texts don't make you seem as fun as you know you can be in real life. Tip 1. Learn from this genius quote. So recently I was just scrolling through some articles online, and I found this quote by a woman. She's a writer, and she actually wrote a book where there's a lot of conversation just between men. Now, one guy asked her something about these conversations, and let me just read the quote to you and it'll all become very clear. A man once asked me how I managed in my books to write such natural conversation between men when they were by themselves. Was I, by any chance, a member of a large mixed family with a lot of male friends? I replied that, on the contrary, I was an only child and had practically never seen or spoken to any man of my own age until I was about 25. Nerd. Creepy. Yeah! Well, said the man, I didn't expect a woman to be able to make it so convincing. I replied that I had coped with this difficult problem by making the male characters in my book talk, as far as possible, like ordinary human beings. This aspect of the matter seemed to surprise the other speaker. He said no more, but took it away to chew it over. One of these days it might quite likely occur to him that women, as well as men, when left to themselves, talk very much like human beings also. Right, so the guy that asked this question to the female writer, he just assumed that women, when left by themselves, have their own very maybe magical, specific, strange language that he doesn't speak. And of course there's differences between men and women when they're talking with their female friends, or men are talking with the bros or whatever. You know, there's differences, but in the end we're all still human. And the problem is that when you as a man will assume that she has this very strange way of communicating that you don't really understand, it's like, you don't know how this magical alien goddess speaks, like how do I make my text good enough for her to be like, wow, this is a cool guy, then everything you will say will be sort of filtered and become some dry, non-interesting stuff. Okay, what this quote makes really clear is that the guy asking this question to the female writer, he's pretty much asking like, wow, how does this woman write these conversations between men when she's a woman? How does she know our secret language? And this is pretty much what 99% of men do wrong when they're texting a girl. They assume that women have their own super secret alien goddess angel language, while in the end we're all still human. And of course there's differences between men and women, and when you're talking to your best friend or the bros and she's talking to the girls on girl night, there's gonna be some differences, right? And the problem is that when you assume that she speaks her own goddess alien language, you're not really talking to her as a human being, but you are creating a distance between you and her, which is the opposite of what you want to do. Now in the next tip I'm gonna tell you exactly the mindset mistake you're making that causes this problem. Tip number 2. Filters belong on Instagram, not in your text conversations. So you're texting a woman and in your brain you've already kinda decided you're texting some sort of alien goddess. Now the problem here is that whatever you're gonna text her, you're gonna run through a couple filters. Oh, is what I'm saying now good enough? Is this funny enough? Is this cute enough? Is this what a man that she finds sexy would text, and so on and so on and so on. Now the moment that you start filtering your text, running your messages through these filters, it is game over. Now the consequence of you filtering your messages puts way too much importance on her opinion of you. And this causes her opinion to be like somewhere here. This is everything she has to say, this is what she thinks of you, and you are like here. You're actually so low that the camera can't even see you anymore. And the problem here is that from this position, you can only seek reaction, you can only pray for her approval, but you can never communicate as two equal human beings. Or even worse, you can never be here where she has the room to chase you, to look up to you, because you are down here filtering your messages to an alien goddess. Tip number 3. Stop filtering and do this instead. So the problem is that men filter everything. They have an original idea of something they want to say, and then they run it through 17 filters, and eventually they make their message so dull to make sure that it doesn't offend anyone that it's a super boring message that's never going to spike a girl's interest and you'll never get her on a date. So what I want you to do instead is something that I'll show you in a screenshot right now. So look at this screenshot. So before we start reading this screenshot together, I just want you to know that this girl had a name ending in Ina. For the convenience, let's say her name was Marina. Did you know Marina rhymes with suck my dikina? She says, I never knew that. Thanks for the enlightenment, man. Anytime. Anything else you wish to learn? Headstand on a unicycle. Mastered it when I was 3. Give us 2 hours together and the skill is yours. Damn, now I'm curious. I saw that you won the Spooning World Championship. Small spoon? So this she is saying because there's actually something in my bio at this point about being the Spooning World Champion. If you want to have a great bio yourself, I actually made a checklist that you can download for free down below. You look at the checklist, you look at your profile, you go over it together and you'll see how likely you are to do well on Tinder and where you can improve. So, saw that you won a spooning championship, small spoon? Mademoiselle, that's French for milady. Milady, I'm always the big spoon, at least 97% of the time. So in this screenshot there's actually a ton of little tiny techniques to make a conversation better, but we're just gonna focus on one because we were talking about filtering, and there's one technique in here that if you use this, you're doing the opposite of filtering and you're making all your text more lively and more exciting. Now my question for you is, when you're looking at the screenshot, can you find what I'm doing to make normal boring texts more exciting? I'll give you 5 seconds. Well, yeah, I'll give you 10 seconds. Let's go. Found it? What I'm doing in these 4 texts is I am doing the opposite of filtering and toning down my messages. I am exaggerating them. So you can see me exaggerating in all sorts of ways. For example, the way I write stuff, you can see that here. Or in quantity, you see that here. Or the content of the message, you can see that here. Now if I did not exaggerate all these normal messages, then this conversation would look something like this. Anytime would just be no problem. Mastered it when I was 3 would be I can do that. I am always the big spoon would just be I'm not the small spoon. At least 97% of the time would be most of the time. So do you see how this conversation would be at least 69% more boring if I would filter it and say everything very normal instead of exaggerating everything? Good. Perfect. Then you too can use these techniques to make your conversations unfiltered and more exciting. Smooth boy like you. Alright, so exaggerating like this is the first very applicable technique that I'm giving you to make your texts with all sorts of ladies more fun. But of course I have way more techniques. You can find them for free in an article linked down below the video. Now I also have a bonus for you. I collected 10 sentences that are usable almost at any time in any conversation to bring another spark in the conversation, to make everything a little bit more exciting. You can download those for free as well. The link is down below the video as well. And if you want to do something in return from me that would be very kind, you can just give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, or else I will do a doo-doo on your poodle.